Hello and welcome to the Route 1 show here on YouTube. We're taking a look at Leeds United, and I'm delighted to say joining myself is Jayson Booker, as always, to discuss the trials and tribulations of Leeds United. Jayson, how are you doing, mate?
Oh, the trials and tribulations of being a Leeds fan, eh?
Never
I'm
ending, isn't
okay,
it?
mate. I'm all right,
Never
thank
ending.
you. Yeah. Oh,
Just goes on. Have you recovered yet from the weekend? What were you like on Sunday? Because obviously we did a stream on Saturday pretty much post Everton, and I don't think I've ever been as angry as a Leeds fan on, certainly not for a while. And to be honest, Sunday I didn't feel much better about it, to be honest. I was
no.
kind of a bit screwed up all Sunday. How about yourself?
It was nice to jump on Saturday and kind of get it straight out of the way. Like, I did watch most of it back, which I don't usually do because I don't really like listening to myself, really. But I did watch it back and I thought, there's a lot of passion there. But ultimately, I think everything that we both said was spot on. I don't think most of it was said in emotion. While it was emotional, I don't think any of it were incorrect. And yeah, I stand by pretty much everything that we kind of said. And no, I didn't feel any better for the sleep. If anything, it just ruined my weekend, really.
Yeah. I mean, and there's been a lot of them in the last 18 months, and a lot of weekend ruiners in terms of the football. I mean, I mean, we won't spend too long going over the Everton game because obviously we covered it in depth on Saturday. But you were going into that game expecting Leeds to put on the performance that could get them some points, hopefully a win. You're playing a team that's a relegation rival, and it was just the wimpiest performance, wasn't it?
Yeah,
there was nothing about it, no quality, nothing.
I mean, I expected us to come out of the game with something. I certainly did, because I think we all know that Everton are not good. They're a poor side. But, when I then looked back on the performance, I weren't surprised either.
Yeah.
Like, by what I'd seen. Like, there was some lack of effort in there that probably did shock me a little bit. But
yeah,
I've said before, and, sometimes I've had hate for this, I think some of these players are fragile mentally. I do think that. I do believe that. I think Bielsa carried them for so long. I think he took them to heights that they really weren't, they were never at. They were never going to be able to get at. And that's not being offensive. It's just the truth. To play at the very top level of any in any country is difficult, let alone the Premier League. So, it's no criticism to say that they're not good enough to play Premier League football. It's just a fact. And I think Bielsa sprinkled a bit of gold dust on top of them and set them up in a way that and give them a belief that they never had before. And we're now seeing ultimately the ends of that. And because of the people that we've got above without any proper planning and structure, and I'm not surprised to see, when I actually think about it logically, I'm not surprised to see where we are. It didn't have to be this. We didn't have to get into this position. It could have been sorted, but the people above, I've shown time and time again, every decision apart from the Bielsa decision has been a bad one, and they've got it wrong. And when you think about it, it's not surprising that we are now struggling. It's not.
Yeah. No, 100%, because Bielsa covered so much for the club. He really did. And I was actually, and we've mentioned this before, we were actually not kind of those type of fans that really criticised heavily the owners. I thought, best owner we've had in a number of years. The people who brought Bielsa in, and all the good times are happening. We're back in the Premier League, etc., etc. But this debacle has really shown them up for just being totally unprepared. And I really, on waking up on Sunday, I just had totally lost faith with their ownership, their direction. And let's be honest, it was heading that way anyway with how much they'd screwed up the manager search. But when you saw that they'd let Escobar have that game against Everton because did okay against Manchester United, it was just all absolutely ridiculous, really.
This last few weeks. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, and what you mentioned about the players as well, and I've seen a few comments about this, but just as an example, not picking him on it or anything, but Patrick Bamford, he was saying, it was great with Scoobs. He's calling him Scoobs. It's a red flag straight away when the players call him the supposed manager Scoobs. And, he's really, he's one of the pals. And, he listened to me and he apologised for subbing me against Manchester. You can't have all that, when you start, and because you get performances like that against Everton where there's just no fear. There's no accountability. It was literally just go out and oh, he's taking the pressure off. Oh well, that's fine for you.
Yeah,
that's fine for you. What about performances? What about
thanks for showing up.
What about the fans?
Basically, thanks for showing up. You know, you did your bit by showing up. Thanks. Like, no, I mean, the manager is the most important person in any club. It's just a fact, and everything feeds through them. You know, obviously, what then happens Monday to Friday, then what's delivered on a Saturday. The man management's important. It's not the be all and end all, but more so in modern day football, it's huge because of the way that players are now. They're on so much money and all the rest of it that comes with that. So yeah, I said right from word go when we started talking about Skubala potentially getting it, and I remember I think the message was probably still in our Twitter messages.
Yeah.
I'll freak out if Skubala gets the job. That's what I said. Something to that effect. I'll freak out because it is such a ridiculous appointment when you actually think about it. Like, and I've said it time and time again, he would not get a National League job. He wouldn't. If Bradford Park Avenue job came up tomorrow and Matt Bauer was sacked, he would not get that job. Right? He wouldn't. So why would anybody, you know, self-respecting owner of a multi-million pound business and club like Leeds United, Premier League club, think this is a good idea? We're going into our 3, you know, massive games for Leeds in terms of the 2 games against Man United. Yeah, the first performance was good. It wasn't him. It was just the players being up for a big game, which they had no pressure in, really, away at Old Trafford. They're going to be up for that game anyway, given the fact that they're playing Man United away. And then they are playing for Leeds United. So the importance is even further heightened. You saw exactly what I was talking about with regards to the appointment of Skubala in the game at the weekend. Like, to not have a shot on target against a team as weak and as, like, in bad confidence, because you could see that they were struggling for confidence as Everton. It just blows my mind. But it's not a surprise when you think about the reality of that situation. It's crazy. It's crazy. I saw somebody say the other day about David Hockaday being more qualified for the job now, and he's right. That's right. And when
we still got his number.
Right, get him on the phone.
It was getting to that point, wasn't it?
It's so
Hockaday back. I'll start a campaign. No, but you know, you're absolutely right. And I when he came out after the match as well, and it, you know, look, we're not criticizing Skubala because I think he was put in an impossible situation, you know, and he's stepped up and he's fronted up and he's tried to do his best. But you could see it in the post-match comments. I think we've got enough quality to survive. I think the squad's good enough. I mean, for me, it was just like, no, we can't, you know, let this continue. This experiment has to end. But it's troubling when the board just seem to respond to the whims of the fans a little bit. And it's, you know, it's like Skubala out. The week before it was, well, maybe it can work with Skubala, and they're just changing with the wind. So moving on to Monday, moving on to yesterday, I was just, you know, getting more frustrated as the day went on. I went, where's this manager announcement? Please tell me they're doing something. I saw some Twitter accounts saying, yeah, ideally they'd like to keep Skubala. And, you know, you just want, please, what are you doing? No, there is no ideally. Just get a manager in, please.
I thought I appreciated Bielsa before this last month. Yeah. My level of understanding just how much influence he had on how great this last 3 years, the 3 years before this year was, as just, my eyes have been opened again. Like, the people that run our club, and Orta has way too much power for a sporting director, for somebody that really should be in charge of recruitment and recruitment only. He's basically running this club. That's how I see it. Rad's in a football person, really, and Kinnear's there for the stadium. It blows my mind how badly they have got this last few weeks. Sacking Jesse Marsh was absolutely the right decision. It was too late, but I can handle them getting that wrong because they wanted their man to work. You know, they employed somebody, they wanted to get behind him. Some of the performances, you know, you could see bits in it. I can handle that being handled wrong, if that makes sense. What I can't handle from the perspective after that, as business owners, as owner of football club, is the way that they've handled this last 3 weeks. It's just insane how badly they've got it wrong. if you've got your number one target, you should know what his release clause is and how that's going to look. You should also already have an understanding of whether it's going to even be possible or not. And if that was, the guy that you wanted, we shouldn't even hear about it. If that's a number one target, but is unattainable for whatever reason, it shouldn't even be in the question. We should have been straight away on option D or E, and it looked like option A. Do you get where I'm coming from? That's where the club should have been at. And they dragged us through this mud, made us all look stupid, had Schroeder over here. I mean, what a ridiculous appointment that would have been. And again, they deserve no credit if Gracia manages to pull us out of this situation. No. They deserve no credit. No. I mean, we'll move on to him in a minute, but the fact that I read earlier today that they spoke to him 2 weeks ago, like, why? Like,
could have been there for the Everton. Could have been there for the Everton game.
Could have been totally different.
I mean, he might not. I was just going to say, sorry, he might not even be there in time for the Southampton game.
Yeah, because of work visa and stuff. I was thinking to myself on the way home, if we go down by 3 or less points, and that game at the weekend is the difference, can you imagine that situation?
And it's feasible.
It's absolutely feasible.
It's be so tight.
Absolutely feasible. So I mean, looking at the league, like it's still pretty close from, I think it's Leicester down. I think it's something like 5 points, a couple of wins, and you propel yourself back out of immediate danger. So absolutely, the 3 points that we lost at the weekend could make a massive difference. Things go wrong. People make mistakes all the time. But don't compound the issue by making it worse, by making stupid decisions. Not just bad decisions, stupid, negligent decisions. It's just, crazy. Yeah, crazy times to be a Leeds fan.
It's mad. Do you think they overestimated how attractive of a proposition managing Leeds United was? Do you think they thought, this is going to be fine. We're going to be able to get, top 3 candidates, and people are going to be bending over backwards to come and manage Leeds United, but it's just not factored that way. But do you think they really believed, we've got a chance of getting
they thought they were putting a piece of fillet steak on the end of the hook, didn't they, and throwing that out, when really they're putting a little bit of ribeye, maybe maybe not even ribeye with them guys. Like you're not telling me that they're in managers talking amongst themselves and thinking, don't really want to work for them to be honest. Most managers have to, or I would have thought would think longer term, 49ers coming in, but we're not 100% sure what that looks like either. So, what answers are they giving to the managers when they're being interviewed? When they ask that question, Iriola is an example. He says, well, what's happening in the summer? Well, we don't really know yet. We might be selling in summer, we might be selling in January. Well, are they going to want me? What if I'm not their guy? It beggars belief that we've actually gone for a long-term option to start with. Again, when you think about it like that, you're not telling me that a manager that's going for Champions League football with Ray Vallecano is going to just drop it for 6 months relegation battle and then maybe not being the man that the new owners want.
And it was still kind of using the Bielsa legacy. Guys being gone from the club for, whatever it is, 18 months or a year or whatever, and it's still kind of trading off on Bielsa's name and, he played under Bielsa. It's still kind of also this thing of, we've got to keep up this high intensity, attacking minded football. It's like, well, we can only pick a coach who's going to do that for us. We can only get a manager that's going to do that. We're way beyond all that now. We just have to get results. We're way beyond being aesthetically pleasing and attractive football and all that. It's just desperation times now. It just, and this is why I changed, at first I was like, no Benitez. But, by yesterday, I was like, Benitez, whatever, great experience, get him in, someone who's going to organise a side and maybe actually, make these players a bit accountable as well.
I don't think Bielsa was ever brought in for the style of football, not specifically. When you look at their other appointments, he created that, and Leeds have now thought that looks nice. The fans like that, the owners, the Rads, and Victor and whatnot. They've thought, this is something that we can get on board with. I think they appointed Bielsa because Orta saw this kind of Hollywood idea around it and knew that if it worked, it could be amazing. But it was a risk. Like we all know, it was a risk. We've all seen the fact that Marcelo had walked out of jobs after only a few days because it didn't work right. I mean, how he, given what we know he was like and given his experiences with some of the other clubs, how he managed to put up behind the scenes with some of this stuff. Because we're now just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Some of the stuff that must have gone on behind the scenes that he had to ignore against his better judgment, it blows my mind. Again, I can't even imagine some of the stuff, and that's why he won't answer the phone to Rads now to name the training ground after him.
Well, I just think they must have just given him the keys to the castle and said, right, you just do whatever you want. We don't have a clue. We don't really know what we're doing, so just do it how you want. So then you've got him going in with plans of the training ground, and he's changing plug sockets, and he's changing car park spaces. And it seemed to be that we just went, yes, 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 do whatever you want. And it was probably a smart decision by them by not getting involved at all. Obviously, they still did daft stuff like the badge, and whenever it was stuff outside of football matters, it was always off, wasn't it, under Bielsa? But I feel like they probably just went, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
I honestly believe now. I believe now that they hung him out to dry. I don't think that he was told he was going to get sacked until the day he got sacked. Like, I don't think there was any conversation. I think he was genuinely now really shocked given what he was going through with the squad and the injuries and stuff. And I hate to harp back to him, and hopefully one day we can start to move on from Bielsa, because it is hard to. But I think we made the wrong decision. I think we should have stuck with him. Now that I see how them two are running it without him, and we've seen a year further on and what's gone on and all the rest of it, I think we should have stuck with him. And if we'd have gone down, we'd have gone down. That's I think we'd be in a better position. I think we're in such a worse position now than what we were a year ago for sacking him. It didn't make it worth it anyway.
No, and it was a really hard run of games, and we had players out who then were available, like Phillips, kind of came back into the team towards the end, and you wonder if we'd have just actually seen it out. It was just the results were so horrible at the time with the thumpings. But I think you're absolutely right, because even if we'd have gone down, keep the manager who got us back up, and he'd even, I remember there had been rumours at the time where it was like, well, he was happy, even if you had to sell your best players, which you accept, he was kind of excited to work with the youngsters again in the Championship and that kind of thing. Whereas now, we're on tenterhooks, aren't we, really?
He did it all, Brownie. He did it all. He brought players on that never had any, right to be at that level. He brought the kids on. He filled the ground again. Like, let's be real. Like, Stoke at home, in that first season, and the kind of aura around him and what it was bringing, and that brought the fans back. That's why we've got problems with season tickets now, along with the Premier League, which obviously is more attractive for kind of your casual fan. He brought that all. So, anyway, we probably should move on from it. I don't want people to like, Bielsa again.
Bielsa, when we got a new manager in. Okay, so we'll fast forward. So late on Monday night, it came out Javi Gracia, not Garcia, as obviously has been commonly mistaken. And it was linked that he suddenly shot up the odds, and it was, where's this name come from and what's going on here? And you thought, what's going on? And then obviously this morning, pictures of him arriving at the training ground, and he's now being installed on a flexible contract. So I assume it's like till the end of the season, see what happens with that. God knows what a flexible contract is with those guys in charge. You just don't know, do you? And what were your first thoughts about, what were your first impressions? I've got to admit, is a name that wasn't in my head at all. And then you go, it's the Watford manager that got him to the FA Cup final. You kind of remember. And then you look at his kind of list of clubs. There's a lot of clubs in there. There's kind of mixed times, a lot of short spells in there. But what did you think? What was your kind of take on it? Where did you feel at with it?
Yeah, so I mean, I know a little bit about him. I know his CV is a little bit all over the place. He certainly had a lot of different different positions, moved about a little bit. Didn't do so well at Rubin Kazan, but then did well back in Spain. I believe his Malaga side were really well thought of. I know his time at Watford. Watford are a funny kind of example to use, because they go through managers like no other team's ever gone through managers. So he's their longest serving manager in the last 15 years, I think it is.
Only one to survive a full season or something, isn't it?
Yeah, which is crazy. I know that they played some good football. I know they got to the FA Cup final. They did get stuffed in the final, but Man City have got the capabilities to do that to anybody on any given day. So I think you have to just take it for they got to an FA Cup final, which is impressive for a club like Watford. He got some, he had players overachieving. He got the best out of the players that had the potential, players like Jared Deulofeu, and he got the best out of Troy Deeney, Capoue in the midfield. Like he had some, players with potential that have maybe not always shown it in other clubs. He managed to deliver it in that Watford side. So, in the grand scheme of things, compared to some of the names that we were linked with, this is a fairly good appointment, considering how badly we've handled this last 3 weeks, how unattractive the position probably looks at this stage for a lot of managers that now know that they were maybe 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th choice. I think this is a bit of a coup, if I'm honest. I think he gives us a fighting chance. I still think we'll go down. I'm going to say that. I'm going to put my hands up to it and say it now. And hopefully Southampton comes and, I feel less like that than I do today. And then the week after and we stay up. I want to stay up so badly. Like, I really don't want to go down. I think it's a little bit late. And I think the games that we've got left are going to be tough. But he gives us a fighting chance, depending on how quickly he can get his message across and how well the players take to it. I mean, I know he's a bit of a disciplinarian. I know he likes to, and I think that is more in the mold of Bielsa again, to mention him. I think that's very much how he was. And I think that will give us the best chance. I don't want to see no arm round him like Jesse Marsh pretending hot air, BS. I don't. So, yeah. That's my take on
all that. Nicknames with the manager and all that.
I want to see Gaffer. I want to see Boss. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see.
And we need to see some tough decisions. Bamford, you're not doing it up front, right? You're dropped. Harrison, you're not, just because you've made 150 appearances for the club, it doesn't mean you just get into the team automatically.
No.
We need a manager to come in and say, right, make clear-cut decisions, not based on old favourites, not based on big transfer fees, none of that rubbish. Just someone who can make some clear decisions with that team. Looking more into it, reading more about him, I'm positive about it. I'm really positive about it. I'm happy with that as an appointment compared to where we were, just a few days ago and thinking Skubala might be there till the end of the season. I'm really positive with it. I'm wary because every step of the way I've been positive and I've been slapped in the face. Marsha's gone, yay, big slap in the face. Skubala, he might be decent, big slap in the face. So I'm playing it cooler this time. I'm just hoping that he comes in and does his business like he did at Watford. Had a great season finish with them where he got him out of the relegation zone. He's proved where he's been. He's tactically adept. He can, change tactics for different oppositions. He did it with Malaga. They managed to stifle Messi, and they had no money. They had financially, they were totally up against it. And he was able to compete, get those teams to compete. And in terms of a short-term option, whether if he does well, he probably gets another year or whatever. The fans will probably really take to him. He's very popular with Watford fans. So if he does have some Bielsa qualities to him, like the discipline, if the football's pretty good, and if we start getting points, if we start getting wins, he will have the backing. And I think, judging by social media, judging by the fans' reactions, he could get a momentum behind him if it starts to go well. The problem is, like you say, it's very late in the day. It's 15 games left, but it's what are these 15 games? It's hard opponents coming up, and I'm just hoping his paperwork gets through because we need him on that training pitch.
He needs to be there for the weekend, 100%, just for the atmosphere in the crowd and, where the attention will be for the fans, because we know where it's going to be if he's not there. There's two things that I want to say with Gracia is that he has got experience in keeping teams up, which I think is massive in this situation. He dealt with an ownership model at Watford that was extremely difficult. Clearly, we all know that. Even now, it's still the same. And he also is very good at changing things in game. And we've not had that for a long time. Bielsa had the capability to do that, but he often stuck to what his plan A was and tried to make plan A better, which we all respected. We understood it. We got it, and it worked for us for a long time. Marsh he didn't have any plan B. He had nothing in the game. He couldn't make managerial decisions within game to change the way the game was going. And Scoobs obviously couldn't either. So, and we know that Gracia can do that. So I'm really happy with that, because I think that's what's cost us massively this season. We've been on top in games, a manager's changed it, and the game's gone away from us. Time and time again, that's happened. So hopefully he can rectify that. I ultimately think it's a really good appointment given the circumstances situation. I'm actually surprised, given the weekend, that we've come out with such a positive kind of,
100%.
Result, if you want to call it a result.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Michael Browne, thanks for your comment there. And he just mentioned that it was said his last match in charge as Watford was a 1-0 defeat at Leeds last season. I'm not sure. I went to that. Game.
I watched the game. Yeah, I remember. I didn't think that was. No, that wasn't Gracia. That wasn't. No,
it wasn't Gracia, was it?
It was the other guy. Because they were fuming. He was fuming that he was sacked after that.
Yeah.
What was
he didn't last long, did he?
Short guy.
Yeah.
I forget his name now. It weren't Gracia though.
Stomping around the technical area that day. I think Llorente scored the winner that day as well. Blimey, now times have changed.
Wowzers. Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't Gracia. Definitely wasn't. Gracia was before that.
Yeah, if you're watching, please give us a like and send us a comment as well. Let us know what you think of the new man in charge. So the task ahead for him then, it feels very much kind of his opportunity to get back into a top job as well, doesn't it? It feels like this is someone who can, if he can build at Leeds, if he can save us, then it could be something to really grab hold of for him. And it's always a worry when they've had a lot of jobs, but at the same time, it's football management, isn't it? It's kind of, they potter around here, there, and everywhere, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, and again, you've got to bear in mind the jobs he's taken. Valencia are a bit of a weird club as well.
Yeah,
in the way that they operate.
He's picked some clubs, hasn't he?
Yeah, giving Gary Neville the job as an example. The way that they operate is a bit strange. Is Valencia? Watford is exactly the same. And there's a stage in his career where he was obviously advancing, so he was getting better jobs. He sometimes moved because he got almost a promotion. It happens. So, yeah, he has had a lot of clubs, but I think the biggest glowing reference you can take for a manager, for an incoming new manager that, fans may not know loads about, is how previous clubs supporters feel about him. And the realist example we can use is Watford, because they were in the Premier League and they absolutely loved him. They rave about the football he played, and the time that he was there is the best that a lot of them can remember for the last 10 or 15 years. A lot of them don't think he should have been sacked when he was. I think they'd taken 2 points out of the first 5 games of the season and got the bullet. Something like that, I think it was. It were a bad start to the season. I don't know the context of it without looking at it. I don't know who they played or whatnot. But it was
only 4 games, wasn't it? Only 4 games
like
to give him, which is bonkers after he's done all that for them.
Well, it were only six competitive games after the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's just their model at Watford. It's the way that they conduct themselves. They ended up with Roy Hodgson in charge the last time they were in the Premier League. Yeah. So, I don't think you can take too much of it. I think we have to treat it in isolation, pick out the good bits that he's obviously done throughout his career and get right behind him. Like, I am absolutely 100% behind him. It's not the appointment I would have made if I could have picked any. Of course it's not. No. But it's certainly in front of a fair few that were mentioned on that list. I'd probably have him over Rafa, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So
I would. And I were all for Rafa a couple of days ago, or Nuno. I'd probably had Nuno over him. I would say that. Yeah. I think Nuno would be more suited for the circumstances, situation, the club, and all the rest of it. But I'm happy with it. I am happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, thanks for your comment, mate. What will the incoming manager do with our defence? What do you think, Jason? I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I think Verba's out, isn't he, against Southampton potentially with an injury? But, I mean, do you expect him to actually change the shape, maybe 3 at the back? Do you expect him to actually be willing to make some changes that way? But, I mean, also, Mellier as well, is his position under risk? Because he's having a bit of a wobble at the minute, isn't he?
Gracia, he plays either a 3-5-2 usually or a 4-4-2. The problem with the 3-5-2 for us is it means that you've then got probably Harrison or Firpo on one side playing that left wing back role, and Christensen on the other side, and you then start running out of positions to play some of our best attacking players, Sinistera, Somerville, Nonto, some of the other. So what do you then do if you're playing a 3-5-2? So I don't think he goes with a 3-5-2 to start with. I think he probably goes 4-4-2. But it's about the way that they set up defensively when we're out of possession, and that's what Gracia is really good at. He sets up in a low to mid block, plays extremely narrow when we don't have the ball. But then plays more expansively when we do have the ball. That's his style. So I think it'll more be instructions of what to do without the ball. We won't play most of the time with a high press under Gracia. It'll be very much in packs, in bunches, but in our own half, working on half, cutting down the half spaces and things like that. So I think that's how he will probably plan. Verba being out's massive, 2 or 3 weeks, unfortunately. I think it'll be the same personnel that we've seen. I don't think it can change much in personnel. I think it'll be Cooper, Koch, Ayling, and Firpo, probably. But it's then the instructions that the players are given in and around that. Hopefully, because he can adapt, he'll adapt to the abilities that the players have. Yeah. That's what you can only hope for.
That's what I'm hoping.
Me too. Junior, Firpo as an example, he's played well the last couple of weeks, but Junior, look, we need basics from you as far as defending is concerned. This is how you need to position your body when you are jockeying a defender. And if you're going to play Junior Firpo over Strike at left back, you then make sure that Tyler Adams is playing on that side of the midfield and he covers that area with him. Junior's in trouble. Tyler, you make sure that you're within 10 yards of him at all times to cut out. You know what I mean? So again, it's not about being horrible about a player's abilities. Junior Firpo has probably the best attacking attributes a fullback has at our club. Maybe alongside Luke Ayling, because Ayling's going forward. But Junior, you're not a great defender. Like, as a manager, you have the right to say that. You're not a great defender. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we get the most out of you going forward, and we're going to help you with a midfielder covering that area when we're out of possession.
That's what was so frustrating early in the season, because you had Strauch, a great defender. I know he's had wobbles as well, but generally speaking, a great defender, but attacking-wise, couldn't offer really much or anything, and then you got Firpo's the complete opposite. So, he's got a lot of issues like that to resolve, hasn't he, really? Yes.
I don't see Meslier coming out, though. I just don't see it.
No.
I think it's a funny one with Meslier, because I've talked him up as into being, this potential for being top 5 goalkeeper in the world. And I think he has got some real traits to get there, but it's funny how much he seems to have regressed over this last 18 months. I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know what it is, but season 1 under Bielsa in the Premier League, he was fantastic. He was. You go back and watch some of the saves that he pulled off and how commanding he was in the air, and his distribution when he first came on the scene. His distribution in that first season in Championship, like, it doesn't matter whether you're playing Premier League or Championship, like, to ping a ball to a certain area of the pitch within 2 yards of where you aimed, it doesn't change. That's just a technique thing. Like, it doesn't change depending on the players that you're playing against. Over the last 2 years, he's regressed into kicking it too long, kicking it too short, and it's like,
it's got worse and worse. Just got worse and worse.
It must be confidence.
It's and when I've been watching him lately, I've texted people. I said he cannot kick it to his own player ever. So if there's, if he's doing a long ball out wide or anything like that, it literally never goes to a Leeds player. It goes anywhere but a Leeds player. And like you say, his distribution was like, you thought it was that type of keeper. You thought it was that kind of modern day keeper, great distribution, shot stopper, sweeper. And now it's like, his shot saving ability is still there, but everything else is just.
Do you remember his debut?
Oh, against Arsenal away, and he's pinging 60-yard balls onto the toes of players.
He must have done 10, 15, 20 maybe.
Easily.
Onto his left foot, boom, over to right wing, on a sixpence. And I'm like,
it was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah. How was it? And he is still a fantastic shot stopper. He faces a lot of shots. We need to remember that. Yeah. So all keepers have got clangers in them. So, if you're facing 10 shots in a game and you're saving 7 and 2 go wide, there's a chance that the one that he then doesn't save and doesn't go wide is going to go in.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter if it's in the corner or not. Like, sometimes you're just not going to get to a shot that's, close to you, that maybe 75% of the time you should save, but because you're facing so many more, it's going past you. So it's difficult, but there's other basics. Like, he started punching all the time, where once upon a time he used to come and catch him. Well, where's that come from?
Yeah.
Is it coaching? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I just don't see him being dropped, though, because we haven't seen enough to see what Rob Lister's got left. Like, he played in the Cup and he played okay. I can't remember who it were again. Oh, it were Wolves. In the Wolves game, I thought he had an all right game when we lost 1-0 at their place. We had a poor team out that day. So I thought he had an all right game. I can't remember if I've seen him since, to be honest.
No,
but
no,
yeah,
I don't think so. No,
I think defensively. Sorry, just to finish on that. I think defensively is more about what's in front of the back four than the back four itself in terms of personnel. I still think that the best option for us going forward is going to be the 3 in midfield, and that'll be interesting to see if Gracia does that.
For Rocker.
Yeah,
desperate for Rocker to come back. I mean, how much did we miss him, especially against Everton? There was just no intelligence or creativity at all. It was almost like, Adams did his thing of charging around, finding tackles, and McKennie's very physical, but there was just no guile there, was there? There was no, passing range or vision.
Quality is the word I'd use.
Control. There was nothing. You would feel like Rocker, if he's given that level of responsibility rather than kind of what Marsh asked him to do, he could really flourish. I really hope so. Hopefully he's back. I mean, I'm sure hopefully he'll be back. I've been seeing his posts on Instagram. He certainly looks like he's going to be back shortly. So hopefully he's there against Southampton. In terms of the rest of the team, then, I mean, major problem for me is Bamford at the moment, because obviously what Bamford offers us, we know what he offers. It's pressing, it's that physicality. But, I mean, come on. He's had 2 air shots in 2 games.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
You can't. I mean, come on. I mean, this is your striker, and yes, he proved himself that first season in the Premier League, but that's gone now. That's gone now. And it's not enough just to be, oh, well, he's really good at kind of getting in the face of the defender or starting the press. We need more from that now. We need much, much more. And fair play to Rodrigo, who has really stepped up this season, and he's been getting the balls in the back of the net. But is it time for Rutter to come in and start? I mean, the criticism he's been getting, I find absolutely mind-boggling, to be honest. But is it time to actually change Bamford now? Is it, what do you do there?
I've always been a massive, massive Bamford supporter. When fans were going ballistic at him in the Championship, especially, like, people that don't fully understand what they're watching when they're watching football don't or didn't see what he was giving us. In a Bielsa system, especially. Since these injuries have started taking its toll on him, he still has influence in the way that he occupies defenders, but it's not the same as it used to be. He's just not as mobile. It's as simple as that. And when he does get on the ball, his legs... I've had 2 really bad knee injuries. I've had 2 ACL operations. So I know firsthand exactly what it's like coming back from bad knee injuries. 12 months rehabilitation both times. I know how depleting it can be on your mind and on the way that your body moves, and your brain knows that it should be able to control the ball in a certain way, but it's not the way that it used to be. It needs a different sort of kind of, I don't know, brainwave from head to legs, and I think that's what he's going through. I don't think he can quite compute it in the way that he used to do. He's just not as fit as what he used to be. That happens to players. You see some players get an injury and they retire 28, 29, 30, 31, sometimes earlier. And I think that's what he's going through. I just don't think he will ever be the same again.
No. Well, he doesn't look comfortable when he runs, does he?
I mean,
there was a bit where he got the ball in space against Everton and he had about 10, 15 yards in front of him to run into, and it was, pretty painful to watch, and he ended up losing the ball weekly,
The real problem is, again, though, is that we are still relying on Patrick Bamford being the only proper number 9 at the club after 3 years worth of Premier League football, or nearly 3 years worth of Premier League football. That's the real problem. And I know Rodrigo's done a good job this year, and I rate Rodrigo. Like, I've never been a massive basher of Rodrigo. He's had some really poor times at the club, but I think with Rodrigo, I think his quality was sometimes so far in front of everybody else that he was on a different wavelength to everybody else, and it made him look worse than what he was. But anyway, he stepped up and kind of filled a bit of a void there this year, but he's still not the answer to Patrick Bamford not being the number 9 anymore. He's not. No. And then, Jorginho, I am not in agreement with the some of the grief that he's got. But what I will say with regards to it is that he was the wrong option for a £35 million transfer in January. We needed an out-and-out number 9 that could come in and properly replace Bamford or Rodrigo when they weren't available. And splurging that amount of money on an unproven winger that's really never been prolific yet, I'm sure that his potential is sky high, and I'm right behind. I want him to succeed at Leeds United, but the likelihood is that he's not gonna be a number 9. So, did we even sort out any of his problems? Because we already had loads of wingers. So it's a strange signing for me.
Bit of a strange one. Michael Browne here says Bamford is too lackluster. Good strikers in the Premier League have pace and the ability to get behind defenders. Rodrigo has that. Bamford doesn't. He's more like Chris Wood, static. The thing is as well, and this is also ties into what we're hoping with Gracia as well, is if you haven't got that type of striker and it's not happening for the one that you do have, why not change the system or do something different with your strikers? I mean, that is what I don't get. It's like, we've been screaming, haven't we? We need a person to come in for Bamford. Is it Shea Adams? We're always linked to Shea Adams constantly because we need that type of striker. But wouldn't it be nice if you had a manager that went, actually, maybe we'll just mix it up. We'll mix it up in another way. Do you know what I mean? Why have we not had? I mean, Marsh, it was that system or die, wasn't it?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Nonto up front. Under Gracia. Very similar to Deulofeu, because Deulofeu was a winger that played as more like a shadow striker, false 9 under Gracia, and I could see him playing exactly that position. Nonto can do that role. I've got no doubt that he can do that role. He's good in the half spaces. He's good at picking up the ball in tight areas, in pockets. He's quick. I think he'll look to stretch him and get him behind, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him there. It's then who does he play alongside? That's the question, because I don't see him playing there on his own. But you might get more joy from Bamford or from Rutter if he's playing alongside somebody like Nonto. So, and then it leaves it open if Sinisterra's fit. I think we've missed so much with him not being fully fit this year, because he's clearly got bags of ability. Sinisterra and Somerville to occupy the spots out wide if we go in that kind of... It all depends on the formation that we see.
Yeah. But isn't it nice to know that actually we might mix that formation? We might actually change it. We might go, actually we can bring others into the game a little bit more. Because it did get Willie Nonto heavily dependent, didn't it? And you can already see now teams are doubling up on him, and he's struggled to have an impact in the last couple of games like he was doing, because he's the marked man, isn't he now? People are doubling up on him.
Absolutely.
So there's a few issues to survive. I would really personally love it to get Rutter in the team. I think you just got to do it. I think he's kind of a rough diamond, but I think he could do something special.
How do you have 35 million quid's worth of talent on the bench? He's not even started a Premier League game yet. It's crackers.
No, whether it was the right signing to make at the time, I agree with you. I think actually, why not, get proven? I mean, would you have done this here? Michael said, could have got Danny Ings for 15 million, proven track record of goal scoring in the Premier League. Would you have gone for something like that, Jason?
Such a risk because of his injuries. Just such of a risk because of his injuries. And I mean, I know it's always a risk, but he's injured now. He's injured right now. It's a West Ham? Is that right?
Yeah.
It did move to West Ham, didn't it, in January? I think, I mean, obviously, if you know that you're going to have Danny Ings available for the rest of the season for 15 million quid, it's a no-brainer, because I think he's a cracking finisher. He's a very good striker, but you just don't know how often he's going to be available. And then you've got this issue with Bamford. Are you then kind of compounding the problem by signing another striker that's injury prone? My shout would have been Ben Burrett and Diaz. That'd have been the player that I would have gone out and just give him the 10 million quid. He signed for Villarreal on a pre-contract now for the summer anyway. So he was going, he was signing something in January. Go to Blackburn and say, look, we're going to give you 10 million quid. You're saving money on the signing that we ended up making anyway. He can play on the left. He's strong. He's physical. He can play up front on his own. Like, he's got loads to his game. That'd have been the signing. Realistic. Because there's so many people that say this name and that name. Like, that's a realistic signing that, we've been linked with for a period of time. He didn't even have to move from wherever we were living, because that, still makes a part of why a player would move. So that'd have been where I'd have gone. That's
I think it would have been a good shout. There was a lad at Coventry as well, wasn't there? The Gyökeres or something.
Gyökeres, yeah.
If you just joined us or you're watching the video, please smash us a like. Let us get your comments in as well. What do you think? What do you think of all this that's going on at the moment?
We love the interaction.
We do. Elsewhere, Jack Harrison, who is always polarized. Yeah.
Drop him.
He's always polarized opinion. He's blown hot and cold so many times. I think he's been largely poor this season. And, he scored a goal against Accrington and then everyone was crying about was possibly selling him. I think that, that's kind of how it went down. I think the performance against Everton, I said it at the time, I think it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen. This guy is meant to be, he's 26. He's been here a while. He knows what it takes. And I just couldn't understand that level of performance. And, is Jack someone who needs someone to come in and be a bit tough on him? Maybe he doesn't react to Pally. Maybe he needs a disciplinarian to get in there and say, look, get cracking. I mean, what would you do? I mean, for me, would you drop Jack now? I mean, if Rocker's back, I'd be dropping Jack, drop that position out of the team, get Rocker in that midfield and see what a midfielder Rocker, McKennie and Adams can do.
I just hold him in Jack, just for reference. I've not been a massive Jack Harrison basher or anything. Like, I think he's got one of the best first touches I've ever seen. Like, his left foot is like a pillow. Like, he's got some serious talent. And again, in Premier League season 1, he was fantastic. I think he's got a real confidence issue, Jack. I think he's got a real mentality issue. Yeah,
you don't need to, does he? You think, no. Jack, honestly, you're Jackie Haradonna. Come on, mate.
I saw an interview with him a couple of years back when he was talking in between. I think it was in between Championship promotion season and season 1 of the Premier League, or maybe the season after. I can't remember. I think it was the first Premier League season, and he'd been off and seen a psychiatrist to deal with his mentality and stuff. And I thought it was a really eye-opening interview. Like, he'd been to America and he'd been training all summer. He'd got stronger. He'd come back for Premier League, and then obviously had the game at Liverpool. And I hate to say this, but I think he benefited from having no crowd.
Yeah,
like I think he really, really did, because he's super talented. But you just see him. I've said this as long as I've been on the show with you. Within 10 minutes, the game that Jack Harrison's going to have. If he misplaces a pass or he hears a few groans from the crowd in the first 5 or 10 minutes, his head's gone. It's gone.
Isn't
it? And he's often better away from home. If you think about some of the best games he's had for Leeds, they're away from home. So, he's a frustrating case, Jack. And I think there's no way that Gracia looks at that performance the other day and plays him. They just can't be. Now, it might start. It might start the game at the weekend. I really hope it doesn't, because I just think there has to be accountability for your performances. And that comes in football through not playing when you play that bad.
No, exactly. You can't just keep turning that in, can you? That kind of performance.
No.
I did feel sorry for him, but Aronson in the under 21s scoring, and you thought this kid was scoring against Bayern Munich in the Champions League a year ago. What is he?
Did we have like 60 million quid in the under 21s yesterday?
Yeah,
we had Rutter, Aronson. There were another one. There were 3 of them in that team yesterday. I'm sure there was.
Yeah, there was someone else. Oh, there was the defender, wasn't there? The defender that we signed, Montero.
Montero.
Well,
JB were playing in that team yesterday as well. Like, crazy.
So just having a look here as well, just want to get to Glenn's comment here. So how many points do you think gets us safe, and which games do you think we're getting them from? So if we look at the table, so Leeds are currently on 19 points. So it's still tight, like you say, Jason, at the bottom there. But we've got some hard games. I mean, ideally, you're saying Southampton straight away.
We have to win. We have to win at the weekend.
I mean, we've got. I mean, Chelsea the week after. Chelsea are not in good form. No. Can we get at Chelsea? Possibly. You know, now with Gracia in charge. I've got more confidence now. We've got someone like that in charge.
Yeah.
But you never know. After that, we've got Brighton at home. Brighton, very good team, though. We've got Wolves away after that, maybe. Some points there. There's a big one against Forest at the start of April at home. That, you know, and then we've got Forest and Crystal Palace. I mean, at home. Very close by. I mean, them two.
We have got winnable games, Brownie.
We have got
winnable because the problem is
just
we need to win them all. We need to win them all. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, we've got 15 games left now. We've taken 19 points in the first. What is it? 21 games.
Yeah.
21 games we've played so far. Or 20?
Let me have a look. 23.
No, it must be more than that. 23. Yeah, 23. Bad maths. 20,
we wish it was only 21. Let's have a do-over.
So we've taken 19 points from 23, right? We need to, in my opinion, to answer this question, we need to take 19 points again in 15 games. That's what I think we need. We need the same points that we've got so far, but in 8 less games to finish on 38. And that still might not be enough, but I think it will be. I think 38 would be enough.
It sounds like Mission Impossible nearly, doesn't it, when you put it like that? You just think, because we look so incapable of winning. I mean, what are we? We're the only team in English football across all the divisions that hasn't won a game since
the World Cup. Since the World Cup, in all 6 divisions. And you're including some bad teams in that, let me tell you.
some of the LUFC data on Twitter, a fabulous account for your stats. I mean, it's just been coming up with belters. So the Leeds' tally of 2 league victories is the club's lowest over any 20-game sequence in 76 years.
Yeah, 1940s on it.
Blimey.
Just since we
going on?
Bettered that.
Just to follow on from Harrison as well. So, Michael, if Leeds survive this season, Harrison should be sold in the summer to Leicester if they still want him. He performs well once in 5 matches and puts in a decent cross, 1 in 5 attempts, Leeds need an upgrade. I can't argue with that. I mean, I think I do agree with you, Jason. I think there is a fantastic footballer there, but I mean, how long does it keep being like this? The inconsistency,
I mean, selling him to a rival was a little bit of a problem in that Leicester could end up going down, but that's only a problem if you're bettering your rival. And the fact is that they have better wingers than Jack Harrison. I would swap him for Harvey Barnes in a
100%
in a blink of an eye. So and for 25 million or whatever we were getting. I mean, I said at the time we were talking about it on the show. If we'd have got Zaniolo, I were all for selling him. But in hindsight, we probably didn't even need a replacement. For that deal to have been okay. So I understood why it ended up getting kiboshed, but
yeah. Interesting one from Tom here. Thanks for your comment, Tom. Is Harrison being played out of position in the Jesse/Skubala system? Yeah, there is a big shout for that, actually. I mean, Jesse with the lack of width and the way Jackie used to play under Bielsa when he were on form, he was fantastic. Really. I mean, I remember when we beat Newcastle 5-2 at home, and he was just like unbelievable. Hit that ball, didn't he, from about 25 yards out into the top corner. Fantastic. I think there is a good argument for that, Tom.
Yeah, I hear that. Like, he's been set up to fail more than what he necessarily needs to be. There definitely is an argument for that. He's not a 10. He is he's a wide midfielder. But we still have seen several of the same frustrations with Jack over the years. I suppose now at 26-year-old, we want him to lead. We want him to be, carrying games and carrying teams, carrying his team through when things are going wrong or going badly. And he doesn't. We're behind in games. He's the first to fall out of the game, in my opinion. His head goes down. He's always, sulking or, gutted about what's just happened. Like, no, get on with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I was watching some clips of Rafinha yesterday, just for nostalgia.
Don't do that. Don't do that
for nostalgia.
What are you doing?
Nostalgia. Oh, what a player, man! Like, I honestly, we were so lucky to see him. But my point in bringing him up is that Rafinha had several occasions where he'd do something and it wouldn't come off, but you'd never see him think, "Oh, I'm not going to do that again." He wouldn't shirk away from it. He'd go and do it again and again and again, and that's what makes the real top players.
It does. The bottle to score that penalty against Brentford.
And the way
nobody else Nobody else scores that for us, I don't think. Nobody else scores that for us, I don't think.
What a player. Some people don't understand just how good he was. Best player I've ever seen at Leeds. For me.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Tommy is also picking up about Aronson as well. Is he better out wide or central? I had it in my mind he's better central, but somebody told me, in fact, his best position is wide. To be fair, he had a few really good games out on the right against Chelsea.
He plays out wide for America, doesn't he?
Yeah, and against Crystal Palace away, he had that fantastic dribble into the box. I'm hoping we get to see something from Aronson again. I really do, because I think there is a player there, and
I feel sorry for him. If I'm honest,
so do I. I mean, a year ago, scoring against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and then you're playing under 21s football a year later because you're not getting 90 minutes.
I feel really sorry for him. I feel really sorry for him because I think in any other team, he would have been brought in and probably start out of a 38 game season. He'd have probably started 15 to 20, been able to have time off the bench, in and out of the side. We've brought him in and kind of expected him to just be this ready-made, attacking midfielder in a team, in a system under Jesse that's just not. The tactic was never going to work in the Premier League, and he's kind of been exposed then. And because he's so slight, and the Premier League is difficult to get used to anyway, and it's physical, he's just, I think, fallen a little bit unfortunate. I'm all for giving him time. I think there's definitely a player in him. We've spoke about him quite a lot. I think he's technically really gifted on the ball. He works in tight spaces really well, and he's got an unbelievable engine. I just think his end product needs to improve. But he's, 20? 21?
Yeah.
He's got time on his hands.
Plenty of time. So we're just about to wrap up now. So going forward, Jason, what's she thinking? Because now I'm almost annoyed at myself being kind of optimistic again about chances. Now we've got Javi in. Now I'm just thinking, from his track record, I like it. I think he can get us going. If anybody could do it, I think it's him, but it's just this season, man. I just don't know.
Like I said,
what do you think? I mean, are you feeling better about it compared to how you were on Saturday?
Massively. I mean, when we said on Saturday, I was quite angry and animated with the fact that we needed to do something straight away. Now, it took maybe 24 hours longer than what I thought it needed to, but they've gone and done it. The fact that they spoke to him 2 weeks ago still really irritates me. Because, what are you messing around at? But that said, they've done it. They've done it at the point where it's the last possible opportunity for us to turn this around.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think we will, because I just think right now, with the circumstances, the situation, the work that he's now got to do, the games that we've got left, and the whole picture, I think he's up against it. And I think we'll end up being one of the 3 worst teams in the league, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope, we go into this weekend, we smash Southampton. If we go into the game Saturday, play really well and win the game 3-0, I might feel a little bit differently about it on Sunday, because then the tails are up. This is very much a mentality game now. It's very much how quick Gracia can get into their mentalities and get them feeling confident again. We haven't won a game since November. It's in the Premier League.
Brutal, isn't it?
It's brutal, and that is really difficult to deal with. So I'm definitely more optimistic than I was with the situation, at the weekend. We can do it. It's not impossible, but we've got to start winning these games. It's no good us coming out of Saturday and being like, well, a point, we're all right, or no, it starts under Gracia with 14 games to go. We are at last chance saloon for me.
Yeah, we can't have any of that now. It can't be one of those, scrappy draws or something like that. We're done with all that. Tom, we're going to leave it on your message, mate. We will stay up. Must be positive. Tom, I love it. I hope so. Fingers crossed for it. Please, if you've been watching the video live, or if you're watching this later on, please do give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're back tomorrow night for the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're going to be doing a roundup live of various teams across West Yorkshire, some faring a little bit better than Leeds, although some others who are doing just about as badly.
They're not all in Premier League, though. We've still got
exactly. Exactly. Last time we used to do the Route 1 Show podcast, Huddersfield Town in the Premier League and we were in the Championship. So it's nice to just kind of put that in there.
That was gross, wasn't it?
Yeah, just horrible, horrible. Fair play to them, though. Got a win under Warner. What can you say? 1-0. Fair enough.
I think they stay up, mate. I think they stay up under Warner.
No, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Jason, thank you for joining me again.
As always, mate.
And we'll be back next time. Thank you.